So welcome to our third Open Circle out from the Portals of Perception website. And we really want to thank you for joining us because this is an experiment. And without you, we can't experiment. So thank you so much. I wholeheartedly speak for the team saying thank you for joining us. We've had a really enjoyable time for the last, actually, this is our fourth Open Circle. Sorry. We had the original one, 2 on the emotions. And today we are going to be working into the brain or exploring the brain or discussing the brain. And it's really wonderful to be able to come together with friends like you, open a discussion, be able to be ourselves and see what we can come up with in terms of some better understandings, hopefully at the end of our time together than when we begin. Yeah. So again, thank you. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Kyriaki, to take us away. And wait a second, I want to say Kyriake. I want to make sure that I say it correctly because I've been practicing.
Yes, thank you very much, Lisa. And welcome, everyone. Thank you for devoting your time. Am I coming through clear? It's okay.
Yes.
And I'm not a native English speaker, so I might be doing some English mistakes when I speak. So I ask for your understanding. So I want to also welcome you all in the Open Circle and in Portals of Perception. As some of you know me, some of you may not know me, I will say very few things about myself. And I am one of the co-founders of Portals of Perception. And I devoted in the last 3 years a lot of time in the growth of this project, both in content creation and in developing the social media events, and recently recording a series of conversation named Homo Universalis, which you are welcome to listen to. And together with other co-founders, Peter Barry, Patrick Summers, Lisa Marcus, and some other friends, we launched Portals of Perception 3 years ago, and it's a site that really searches for new ideas and of how to be a human in these times of change, and develops conversations on initiatives and new perceptions. And we want to develop these conversations because we believe that in the conversation, when we converse, when we discuss, new ideas, solutions, and practical applications are more easily accessed. So it's been an amazing adventure, and the Open Circle is part of it. We are going to be listening to 6 minutes from a series of conversations that are called current openings. Current openings are conversations that are done between Aviv Shahar, who is a renowned coach and a spiritual teacher, and David Price Francis, who is an energy expert and a writer and also consultant of a family and personal development. I myself have been born in Cyprus, grown up in Lebanon and Greece. I have 2 daughters. I studied archaeology, history, and been for 25 years in the corporate world, from secretary to manager. Have interviewed thousands of people, and recently graduated as a musician and opera singer whilst doing the portals. And also I've been for 35 years researching and exploring human behavior and history and human development. So that's a bit about me. And about the Open Circle, Peter Barry is our main editor, Patrick Summers as well, a lot of the writings that you see in the portals. And Lisa Marcus is an amazing events, helping us with events, various conversations, and spreading the word. So together we are developing this open circle. Now today we be touching the brain, and it's this one of our conversations, the addiction trap, which is actually one of the most watched conversation in our YouTube channel. It's called the addiction trap. I would encourage you to listen to all of it. It inspired me. There are 6 minutes that we are going to listen later on, and we are going to try to open some notions of it. It touches upon the amazing thing that the brain is. Now, the brain is really this fascinating being inside us. And of course, we are not neuroscientists, we are not biologists, neither Buddhist monks that can control their different parts of the brain, but we are genuine explorers and researchers. And basically, our approach is how we can actually find practical applications that will improve our life quality, well-being, and fulfillment. So that is our approach today. So about the brain, just to get us in the territory before we come to listen to the conversation and talk about it, just to say how amazing this being is that scientists have found that it has 86 billion neurons, 86 billion neurons, and 100 trillion synapses. So these are the points where the neurons are connecting. And this equals to the stars, the number of stars in 5,000 Milky Ways. So you can imagine, and each synapse has 100,000 switches. So we're talking about something very complicated, something the scientists are trying to map. It's really impossible. It's actually the most complicated being of matter and energy in the universe, more complicated than any muscle we have in our body and than any other matter, planets, any other being, viruses, micro or macro. Now, what is really amazing about the brain is that there are also, we don't know how a thought is formed. We don't know actually from the lab worm. They know it has 32,000 neurons and some synapses, and they still cannot map the behavior of a worm, let alone the human. And there's also how it affects us, affects of life. It gets a lot of information, it processes it through the eyes, through the sensors, and then it develops behavior, it develops consciousness, it develops pathways of thought. So one of the amazing things that happened yesterday, just to touch upon the mystery, I was talking to a friend who I invited and she couldn't come. And as we were speaking, I said, okay, let's arrange to meet. I missed you. And, I'll say a weird thing to you. I missed how you smell. That's what I told her. And she said, you won't believe. I'm just, preparing to go out and I'm wearing my aroma. So that was a weird thing that happened yesterday. And I don't know, maybe it was coincidence. Maybe it relates with the mysteries of the brain. So I just wanted to share a little, because we are talking about the brain. It's important to know, to also see some slides. So I'll be sharing some slides, and just to say a little bit, because 2 things that inspire me from this conversation is how our brain is disconnected from our body, and also it's how the reward system is hijacked by addictions. So just to say a few things about our brain in the head, it has gray matter outside and white matter inside, and in the spine is the opposite. It has gray matter inside and white matter outside. And the neuron, the gray matter, is the soma, that processes information, while the axis is transmitting and receiving information, and it's covered by the myelin. So you can see that in the spine is the opposite. So in the spine, the processor is inside and the axons outside, because the brain in the head and in the spine, they make the neural system. And they were supposed to be together. Actually, this is the limbic system, the ruptorial brain, and they should be connected. It's the most ancient part inside us. So, for instance, in the octopus, the octopus has the brain, and it has like 8 spinal cords, which also it's a mystery about the octopus, because a lot of its neurons it's in the legs. And we have underestimated how much the nervous system should be connected with the spine together with the brain. But the modern human is more disconnected, so it's using more the head brain instead of the whole system. And then another thing is that, let me go a little bit so that you know how the reward system works, is that we have this thing in the limbic system inside our brain. We have a lot of things and we are slowly mapping it, but it's huge. We have this system and which help us create memories and learn. So this is the limbic system. And inside it, there are the amygdala. The amygdala contributes a lot on emotions. And our ancestors had big amygdala, because here is also where the stress resides, and it's also where fear resides. And there are new ways that the neuroplastic people are finding of how to control the amygdala, which we can do. So, and then also there is a striatum, which is informing habits. So this pathway is the reward system, which help us create habits that help us in survival. So we are rewarded to eat when we eat. This is activated, and when we eat, we get satisfaction, and that's a habit we build in order to survive. And the same is with building a relationship, reproduction, and other habits. So what happens is here, the VAT releases, let's say we're hungry and we eat, we get this hunger and we eat, and then this gets activated and it goes to the nucleus accumbens, that this is the part of pleasure. This part, when we feel pleasure, wow, it gets activated in the brain and it feels very well. And what happens with the neurons? Okay, this is a neurotransmitter and a neuroreceiver, and the synapse is the empty space in the middle. So the neurotransmitter transmits dopamine, and the neuroreceiver has these keys, and the dopamine goes in, locks in, and releases a chain of events in our nervous system that release pleasure. And that's how we build habits with pleasure. And those affect both the prefrontal brain, which is responsible for decision, the cortex, and the parencephalon, the cerebellum, which is also coordinating movement. So all these get affected. Now, this natural reward system, which should be, in a healthy brain, we should have in our synapses, we should have a number of dopamine, a normal number of dopamine. But when we get addicted to something, let's say a drug, let's say we eat or we drink a whole bottle of alcohol, then there's a lot of dopamine coming, a lot of dopamine coming, and then the system adapts that as a normal and seeks for more. So it creates less dopamine receptors. So that is how a natural system that should be there is hijacked, let's say, by various habits, such as can be gambling, it can be video games, it can be porn, it can be addictive behaviors like wanting drama in your life, it can be substances, let's say alcohol, drugs, sugar, it can be behavioral patterns, and those, they hijack this natural reward system in the brain, and they force us and also disconnect from our body, and they force us to have various habits. It affects our decisions, and it leads us to addictive behaviors. So that's the intro I wanted to say. I want to ask now if you want to add, and then we'll hear the parts and go to discussion. But just as an intro, and in the second part, when we come back, we'll also speak a bit about what we can do about it. But that's what I wanted to bring in as a warm-up. And this is just touching the tip of the iceberg, because that's a huge iceberg, the brain.
Yeah, that's fantastic to see all that in graphic illustration. And the thing that keeps coming up in the preparation for this and thinking about it is that we've, to a large degree, lost sight that this whole system is here to support us and make everything we do easier and better. It's designed to work for us in everything. And it's really just kind of a poor use of it that gets us into trouble. You know, just like we have a computer or a cell phone and we may not know half the things it does. Our body and our brain are like that. And we've been discovering this about the emotions and about the brain now, that, you know, we can actually take control of these processes if we understand what they're doing inside us, and that it's a natural process. It's not, our brain isn't hijacking us. Our brain isn't fighting us or against us in any way. It's there for us every minute of our lives. And the better we understand that and its mechanisms, you know, the more whole and settled we'll be inside our own skin. So I think that's a great start. Thank you.
Yeah.
I would just add one thing with what you're both saying is, again, to bring up that very special gift that we all have as humans, is we have choice. And how we think about things is so important in terms of how we thought about, you know, when we discuss the emotions, it's how we think about it and how we go back into a lot of the things that have happened to us in our lives. And I love the saying, the knowing is the first remedy. So putting that out the way that you did, Kyriaki, that's amazing, because it's a great understanding. And that's the beginning of how we think about our brain, how we connect our brain to our body, and how we make choice.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Peter. And I'd like us now to listen to the part that we chose from the current openings conversation. And yeah, try not to understand it. If your brain, because the brain, I've been discovering, has a lot of various areas, just enjoy if something, and try to see what captivates your brain while you're listening to this part that I have chosen, that inspires me from this conversation.
Along with our website at portalsofperception.org, Portals is also available on YouTube and on all podcast platforms, as well as social media. You can become an active member and join the conversation in community events. And you can help us get the word out by liking this content and by sharing it with your friends.